On my channel, I've made a lot of videos showcasing fighters, and I believe I've made a couple of videos showcasing promotions, but I have never, ever made a video talking about a gym, and that's all going to change right now, because I believe that KHK MMA is slowly becoming a powerhouse in the MMA world, but just nobody's really taking too much notice, and there's a lot that goes on with KHK that makes them a very special gym. And I feel like the main one is the funding that they're getting because the King of Bahrain is the founder of this gym. And if you guys aren't too familiar with Bahrain, Bahrain is sitting on a massive oil and natural gas pocket, and they are just getting a lot of income from that, as you can kind of guess. So there's a lot of funding behind this gym, but more importantly than that, there's also a lot of really good up and coming fighters in this gym. In fact, a couple of them were assigned to the UFC on Dana White's Contender Series in 2023. You will see a couple big names. You've got Islam Makhachev that does train at this gym, and you've also got Hamad that trains in this gym, as well as Alder Alderov, who's a very long time training partner of Makhachev and Mikhaev. But Shamil Gaziev, if you are unfamiliar with him, was just signed to the UFC very recently, and so was Magomed Gaziasilov. But I'm going to talk about them quite quickly because I really want to get onto the young up-and-coming talent, because when I say that I believe that there's going to be a lot of fighters from this gym signed to the UFC in the next couple of years, I mean it, and you're going to see what I mean very soon when I get round to them. But I wanted to get round to the guys that just signed to the UFC that happen to train at this gym. Shamil Gaziev, 11-0, heavyweight, very talented fighter, and he's going to be making his debut against a ranked opponent. Martin Buday, I believe, is ranked 14 or 15, and I think Gaziev beats him. Now, Gaziev is a heavyweight with a lot of flaws, and I'm not going to do a breakdown for this fight in this video. You will probably just have to wait for the fight to come around. But he's still a talented heavyweight, and there still is quite a lot there. Now, he's a little bit older, but Gaziev's a good guy, and I believe that he could be ranked by the time that 2024 rolls around, because I do think that he's got a good shot at beating Martin Buday, and so does quite a bit of Tapology. The next one that has already signed to the UFC from the Contender Series is Magomed Gaziasilov. Now, Magomed Gaziasilov didn't really have the best performance, but I think that there was a lot to be impressed with what we got. We got an insane amount of athleticism on display on Dana White's Contender Series. Now, he did fight against Jose Medina, who just kind of made him look pretty good, but ate every shot he landed. Gaziasilov, in my opinion, is a lot better than a lot of people will give him credit for, so I do look forward to seeing him in the UFC when that debut does roll around. And now that we've talked about those guys, let's now talk about the young, up-and-coming guys, and we're going to start with Ramazan Gitanov, who is 3-0 as a pro, but he made his debut as a professional in May this year. He's gone 3-0 in the last 6 months, and he's showing no signs of slowing down, and more importantly than that 3-0 record, he has a 33-fight-long amateur career that saw him go 31-2 against some pretty solid amateurs, because he did compete at the IMMAF World Championships in 2023. Fought some pretty good guys there. As with amateurs, he did fight some guys that weren't so good, but a lot of these guys, he's fighting experienced amateurs, and he did so on the IMMAF stage, which is the biggest amateur stage in the sport. He goes pro in May of this year, rattles off a couple of wins against guys with 1-0, and then beats a guy that's 7-6, so not a good record, but a guy with a lot of experience, and Suluev stretches him in the 2 minutes. This guy is 3-0, 3 first-round finishes. Now he takes on a 4-0 opponent. If he can get past him, I mean, we could see Ramazan Gitanov in the UFC as early as 2024, but most likely 2025. I think you're going to see this guy in the UFC soon. He's really good, very talented, a lot of experience. Rasul Magomedov is 1-0, another very good amateur career, fought for IMMAF, went to the World Championships for IMMAF, and ended his amateur career 13-0, and then made his pro debut earlier this year again, won by KO in the first round, and now he's going to be taking on an opponent that is 4-1, a bit more experience, a guy with a pretty good record, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But he is another guy from this gym, KHK MMA, good amateur record, amateur experience, now young in his pro career. Give him a couple of years, you might see him in the UFC. Sabrina Laurentina de Souza, 15-0 amateur career, 23 years old, and she fought some pretty good fighters, man. She beat Michelle Montag a couple of times. If you're not familiar with Michelle Montag, she has gone on to sign to the PFL, I believe, as a professional. I don't know how much success she has had. Okay, she's 4-0. She's had success. She's fought for the PFL a couple of times. The reason why I know who Michelle Montag is because she is from New Zealand, and so am I. But Sabrina Laurentina de Souza beat her twice and went 15-0, won the IMMAF World Championships in 2023, I guess. But now she is going to be making her pro debut at the end of the year. Very, very excited for this once again for Brave CF. Give her some time. Give her a few years. She's only 23, so hopefully she doesn't rush it too much. You'll see her in the UFC relatively soon. Another fighter, Kurban Idrisov, 1-0 as a professional, a lightweight, a guy with, once again, very big-time amateur experience. Went 14-2, went to the 2022 IMMAF World Championships, went on a good run, beat some good guys there, made his pro debut earlier in the year in September, won by first round finish against a guy making his debut. I think, once again, a guy to keep your eye out for. The next one is Sultan Omarov. He's already gone 4-0 as a professional. He's a middleweight. And once again, big time amateur experience. 17-4, 2022 IMMAF World Champion. He has dominated every fighter he's fought, but to be honest with you, he hasn't really fought the best competition as a pro. Hopefully he can step it up, because if he steps it up and beats maybe like 3 more good opponents, you could see this guy in the UFC again. And another big thing as well is the UFC probably wants to sign these guys from Bahrain, because PFL signed all of the good fighters from Saudi Arabia. So they probably want to get the guys from Bahrain, because Bahrain, as I said, does have quite a bit of funding behind it. The next fighter is Murtaza Talha. I am not prepared to give up on Murtaza Talha yet. I had no idea that he fought Rodolfo Bellato coming off a surgery and was limping like 2 months prior to that fight. I guess my bad, I missed out on that. But he's looked good, man. If you watch his fights, aside from Bellato, he looks really, really solid. I think you see Talha in the UFC next year. I think if he goes back to the drawing board, wins a couple of fights for Brave, comes back to Dana White's Contender Series as a middleweight, you'll see him in the UFC for sure. This guy is talented. I'm not ready to give up on him. Very, very skilled fighter. I love the way he fights. He's a pretty aggressive boxer. He can get it done. He just looked really bad on the Contender Series this year. Maybe that was due to him maybe not being as good as I think he is, which is very likely, to be fair. Maybe it's due to that surgery that he had. Give him some time. We will see Talha in the UFC at some point. And then the last fighter that I have prepared to talk about is Shamil Gimbatov, who's 1-0 as a professional, welterweight, a lightweight, I guess, actually. Big time amateur career as well. 10-2 as an amateur. Now, not as successful as a lot of the guys that I did talk about earlier. Made his pro debut earlier this year, won by first round finish. Do you see a bit of a trend here? Not really against the best guy, just once again a debuting guy, but, you know, that can be excused. It was his pro debut as well. I think maybe, again, Shamil Gimbatov, he might need a bit more time than the other guys, just because he doesn't really have the big-time amateur record or the big-time pro record right now. But give him time, and if you just scroll through, you go to KHK MMA on Tapology, and you can just scroll through, man, and you can find some really good fighters. I mean, Aldo Alderov was a really good fighter in his time. Now he's just become a bit more of a trainer, I guess, a coach. Magomedov's very good fighter. Unfortunately, it's not the most exciting fighter to watch, but he's a really good fighter. The UFC could sign him and he would have success right now. A few good guys with just really good pro records, really good amateur records if you can scroll down far enough as well, you know, and there's just really good fighters in this gym. So I wanted to make a little bit of a spotlight. I believe that this is potentially a gym that you will see those guys that I did just talk about maybe make a big run. You know, there's a couple guys here that I'm scrolling through right now that once again could make a pretty big run. Like, I think that KHK MMA, a sneakily big gym that I've not seen too many people talk about. KHK MMA, they've got a few fighters in the UFC already, as in they've got Makhachev, who's the lightweight champion, the best lightweight on the planet. I mean, maybe against Charles Oliveira, but Charles Oliveira lost to Makhachev, and Makhachev just It's hard. I'm a big Charles Oliveira fan, but Makachev's the best lightweight on the planet for sure. Mikhaev, young up-and-coming guy. Once again, massive amateur record. I think he's 23-0 as an amateur. A few guys with good records as a pro. I mean, KHK MMA. Do not be surprised in the next couple of years if you see some big-time guys, well, not really big-time guys, just guys signed from this gym, signed to the UFC, and I will kind of do a big, bold statement right now. Do not be surprised if you see an event in Bahrain in 2025 or 2026. I'm going to put that timeline out there. Maybe not 2024, that might be too soon. 2025, 2026, we'll probably see a UFC event in Bahrain. I wouldn't be surprised. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And the king of Bahrain, King Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa, if you want to invite me to Bahrain, I would love to come and see. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate everything. Appreciate all the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I think I said it like 4 times in the outro. Let's just end the video there. Catch you guys later.